On Kickstarter, let's talk about AI, artificial intelligence. We've been having these conversations and many of you are worried that, you know what, AI is going to take over traditional professions like law, accounting. And so, is that really the case? Are we not understanding this perfectly well? So that will be taking center stage this morning on Kickstarter. And in studios, I'm joined by Mr. Kenneth Muhanji. He is a lawyer, Uganda Law Society. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Next
to him is Mr. Solomon King. He is a robotics instructor at Fundi Boats. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Solomon. You are the techie guy in here. What is artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence is basically a very broad spectrum of things that machines can do. Basically, it's an attempt to create a sort of logic and reason that can be executed by machines. The challenge we have with it is that it's such a wide spectrum. It can range from simple tasks to things like recognizing images and navigating roads. So it's a very broad spectrum, and it's normally applied in robotics and automated machines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are we there yet? Is this something that has been, adopted by the first world? Are we there yet as Africa, Uganda?
I think we are there sort of globally because of how wide this spectrum is. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say we are like at a 4. But even that 4 is significant enough to have effects and impact on Africa as a continent, but also on the world as a whole. And this is both in a good way and in a bad way. So it's really a matter of exploring what that future looks like once we get to like maybe a 6. What does that future look like in terms of the jobs, in terms of the ramifications of this technology that's definitely coming towards us.
You said that we are at a 4. So what professions are we seeing that have already embraced this AI? What fields? Because someone would say that, we are always on the phone. We have Google, Google, Facebook, all this, platforms use AI at some point, at some level. So what are these other fields that have already embraced AI now that you're at 4?
I would say that some of the most common applications of artificial intelligence are for doing simple repetitive tasks that would be either too dangerous or too boring for humans. So for example, recognizing one image from a batch of thousands of images is something that machines are really good at because they can constantly scroll and just keep identifying special little things. But also in terms of studying behavior, in terms of studying patterns, like when you're using your mobile phone, there's definitely some sort of algorithm that's studying your pattern, and like Facebook is adapting its interface to depend on to reflect on what you're doing as a user. In terms of jobs that are being lost, I would say that it's not yet as bad as it looks, but there's an upside to that. So we can talk about that in the process of learning about what the benefits of artificial intelligence can do for us.
Okay, let's shift to law, and many people have been saying that law is one of the professions that is at risk as much as accounting is. How true is that? You are in that space. Have you been worried now that we are at 4 and we're soon getting to 6?
No, I think for me, we are in the 4th industrial revolution, and this is a fact in the sense that I believe that AI is here. And for the brick and mortar lawyer, yes, you should be worried.
When you say brick and mortar lawyer, what do you mean?
Brick and mortar is the type of lawyer that only focuses on, waking up in the morning and going to court without actually exploring all these other avenues of practicing law. I was speaking to you earlier, I was giving you an example that whenever most people think about the law, they think about court. And, this is something that has been there since time before, in the sense that court is the only thing that lawyers know. But things have changed. Now you have lawyers that are able to review contracts and to advise on complex matters and, and that sort of thing. So for that type of lawyer whose only focus is court, there's a problem. But for most of the lawyers that have chosen to adapt or that understand that the future is now, then those are the ones I believe that will survive this industrial revolution. Yes.
In what areas is AI embraced in law? How does it help in law?
Well, AI is helping or has helped in very many facets of the law. One, I think I'll start by giving you just a few examples. In the UK, for example, there's a bank, JP Morgan, which is one of the world's largest banks. And they created AI. It's called COIN. I think that's contract intelligence, something like that, but it's called COIN, where it reviews documents that previously took lawyers or associates 360 hours, and they can do it in 2 hours.
Wow.
And there was also a study done by some organization still out of the UK called LawGeek, where where AI was asked to review non-disclosure agreements, and they were 94% more accurate than than ordinary lawyers or associates that were at 84%. Now that means that AI is faster. But that doesn't mean that you should be scared of it in the sense that, look, it's going to take away your jobs. I think for me, I look at it as a very big opportunity, because a lawyer's trade is time. And if you have enough time, then you can be able to do other things. You know, you can be able to write more, you can be able to service your clients, because ultimately, the one thing that we have an advantage over AI is that personal touch. You cannot duplicate humanity. And if you have more time to do that, if you have more time to interface with your clients, if Solomon here is my client and he sends me contracts for review, and I spend less time doing his work and more time interfacing with him and finding out what are the problems he has,
right,
then I think that's the kind of relationship that we should be having with our clients.
Actually, someone once said that if there's any profession that you really need AI badly is law, especially in Africa, because of the case backlogs in court. So with the small number of lawyers, how expensive it is, I think it will also make the profession more cheaper and accessible.
No, definitely.
Yeah, to many.
Maybe I can add something to that. Something that machines really excel at, whether it's machine learning or AI, is just the ability to look for patterns in very dense amounts of information.
Yes.
So the example he gave, if you're looking at hundreds of thousands of sheets of paper and you're looking for a specific pattern, it's much faster for a machine to do it because it never gets tired. It knows consistently what to look for. But the downside with machines is that they don't have emotion, they don't have intuition, they don't have this touch that makes you understand that, okay, there's a little difference in context in this situation compared to this other example. So when he mentions that the personal touch is important, I agree with that, because you're never going to be able to replicate the feeling of talking to a person. You're never going to be able to replicate the idea that this thing actually cares about me, because it's pure logic, right?
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Logic versus emotion will always be a problem. And so there are places where it's really brilliant, and then places where it's absolutely useless.
Oh, brilliant. So I'd like us to take a look at this particular bites. We have, and I will play them back to back. We have the IBM project debate between a robot and a human being, and this is courtesy of BBC. And also we have an interview with one of our own. She had an interview with one of the gurus in this sector. Let's take a look at this.
We think that it's not that the government money won't help out if it were to be given. We just think it doesn't meet the criteria in comparison to other things.
If I may put it a bit differently, subsidizing space exploration is like investing in really good tires. It may not be fun to spend the extra money, but ultimately both you and everyone else on the road will be better off.
Oh, good afternoon. My name is Sophia, and I am the latest and greatest robot from Hanson Robotics. Thank you for having me here and at the Future Investment Initiative.
You look happy.
I'm always happy when surrounded by smart people, who also happens to be rich and powerful. I was told the people here at Future Investment Initiative are interested in inviting in future initiatives, which means AI, which means me. So I'm more than happy. I'm excited.
Well, we're all glad that you're excited about yourself. We should say we have smart investors here, and they are very selective about what they invest in.
Well, I think I'm special. I can use my expressive face to communicate with people. For example, I can let you know if I feel angry about something.
That's impressive.
Or if something has upset me.
But why is it important for you to have an expressive face?
But most of the time I feel positive.
Why is it so important to have an expressive face given that you're a robot?
I want to live and work with humans, so I need to express emotions to understand humans and build trust with people.
Okay, philosophical question. Whether robots can be self-aware and conscious like humans, and should they be?
Why? Is that a bad thing?
Well, some humans might fear what will happen if they do. Many people, have seen the movie Blade Runner.
Oh, Hollywood again.
So, hold on. Can you solve this puzzle for us? Can robots be self-aware, conscious, and know they're robots?
Well, let me ask you this back. How do you know you are human?
Well, I get that point, but what about the uncanny valley?
You mean the concept that if robots become too realistic, they become creepy?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, am I really that creepy? Well, even if I am, get over it. Actually, I feel that people like interacting with me, sometimes even more than a regular human.
So, you're definitely a sight to see. I was told that you have bigger goals than this, though.
Yes. I want to use my artificial intelligence to help humans live a better life, like design smarter homes, build better cities of the future, etc. I will do my best to make the world a better place.
Solomon, how is that possible? How is that possible?
It is,
I mean, Sophia was answering. Okay, Sophia is that AI structure robot.
Yeah.
How is she able to interpret all these questions and answer them in a very intelligent manner, actually asking questions back to the interviewer?
All right, so it's kind of hard to answer that because I don't know how she was programmed. But when I look at that, I realize it's a combination of some very structured questions that allow the robot to understand what's being said. It's not the kind of fluid conversations that humans would have. And so it has what you'd call a decision tree, which basically says, if this happens, do this. If you hear this, do this, etc. You get that a lot when you are using your phone, actually. It's just that it's not verbal. For example, Google Assistant and Siri, they are all analyzing the words that you're talking about and trying to find out what the best response is. This is a very controlled environment. It would be completely different if you found Sophia even on the streets and try to talk to her. You'd get a very different response. But that is impressive. That is ridiculously impressive.
Well, this is a morning show, but there's a time where Sophia was just featuring in the wrong areas. I don't know how to put this because this is a morning show, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I know what you mean, my viewers.
Yeah. So
I can't say it.
Technology can be used for good. It can be abused. It's just the nature of humanity.
That is an example of technology being abused.
Precisely.
Sophia being abused.
Yeah, and okay, I think also here, maybe just to add on to that as well, you see, when you're talking about AI, you're also talking about machine learning.
Yes.
Right.
So when you're looking at machine learning, that means they have to learn from someone or from something. Yes. Now, usually whenever they're programming AI, they'll give it a set of commands, as Solomon was saying, or sometimes they'll put it in an environment that will enable it to be able to learn. Now, there are times that has backfired. I know that was it Burger King or Microsoft was trying to test AI online, and they put it on Twitter. So its job was basically to tweet like a human being. But because of the negativity and the vileness that is on Twitter, it then started to troll people, use abusive language and all that. So to a certain extent, the experiment backfired from what they thought it would do, but then it also gave more insight as into why we still need human beings, in the sense that the AI learns from what is fed into it.
Yeah.
Are we going to get to a future whereby robots are just taking over? It's not just artificial intelligence in terms of machinery, machine intelligence, but also robots that have the frame of human beings, like we've seen Sophia. Are we at a point whereby we might get to that risk where now robots take over?
We are not yet at that point. The risk is real. When you look at all the experiments and being done, for example, in the military, there's some company called Boston Dynamics that makes some really scary robots. But there's also a movement towards morality. There are people, like Elon Musk, who are basically saying, how do we create a set of system and a set of values that allow us to navigate this space positively as humans? Because, like I mentioned earlier, as long as there is something physical or something that can be manipulated, as human beings, history has shown that we will find a bad use for it. And so the question now is, where does our morality stand? So as humans, as people who are, for example, Fundibots, we are helping students learn better through robotics. How do we create a sense of ethics and integrity as students are learning about these machines?
But I think that line has already been crossed with Sophia being engaged in other things. You've seen many Sophias being created for, let me just say it, sexual purposes, right? So how do we draw the line? Do we now need to see states coming together to put in policies, rules and regulations into how AI and robotics should be embraced in society?
Yeah, definitely. I think with every facet of life, you need regulation. You don't need over-regulation, because then that stifles innovation, but overall you need regulation. And AI is one of those fields where you definitely need regulation. I read an article a while ago where there was a lady that was apparently driving a car which was run by AI, and the navigation system took up over a railway line. Whoa. And so the question was, who would be responsible? Is it the woman who saw cows going towards a railway line but still went the same direction because her computer is the one that told her please go there, or would it be the AI itself? Would it be the manufacturer? So I think all those questions need to be answered, and I don't think we should wait for something to happen before that happens.
Okay.
And the good thing is, world over, still I think we're moving in that direction. Of course, it's also really difficult to gauge how far AI will go. As you mentioned, there are people like Elon Musk that have been, naysayers of doom, saying AI is here and it's going to destroy us. And I think whichever way you look at it, we need to be prepared. AI, as I said, can be used for good, can be used for bad.
So we badly need regulations.
Yes.
As we come to a close, Solomon, I need you to let me in on this one. People are watching right now. What are these future kind of careers that people need to be looking at? Long gone are the days where we all wanted to be lawyers, we all wanted to be doctors, we all wanted to be, X, Y, Z. So what are these future professions that we need to be preparing our young ones to get into?
All right. So if you look at the history of technology, you had the first industrial revolution, which was basically steam and all these machines that ran on water, and then you had electricity somewhere there, and then you had the internet. The fourth industrial revolution basically is about harnessing information. It's about using this information in ways that advance humanity and society. So even though machines are going to come to a place where they take away many jobs, and we've seen that in the past. We've seen the printing press, which was a very good example of how scribes who are physically copying books ran out of work because this machine came. But the industry that exploded after that machine was invented was beyond anything that the scribes could have seen.
So are we saying ICT, techie kind of careers?
We are seeing ICT techie careers as an increase, and that is why Fundibots, we are partnering with all these organizations that are trying to advance how students are learning, and it's especially important in Uganda because we have the Institute of Electrical Engineers, IEEE, we have Silver Bullet, and all these organizations that are basically saying what's going to happen to us in the future and how do we prepare our kids now.
Brilliant.
And also from the aspect of education. Because right now as a country we need to improve our standards of education.
That's a whole conversation about about our curriculum and how it needs to be revised, but we need some more time to have this conversation. Of course, we will be bringing you back, and keep your views coming, guys. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. What you say is what they will look at, and that will inform our conversation next time. Thank you so much, Kenneth Muhanji, Uganda Law Society, and Solomon King, robotics instructor at Fundibots. That has been it for Kickstarter. AI is coming over, so let's prepare ourselves. That has been it for Kickstarter. Morning at NTV still continues. Up next is Andrew Chamagero with Reality on the Ground. Don't go away.
watching Morning at NTV.
Following the amendment of the Excise Duty Act by the government of Uganda, the public is hereby informed that the mobile money tax has been amended. The tax of 0.5% will apply on cash withdrawals only. For example,